Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to show you guys some of the mechanics of the game Knock Knock, since it's pretty vague and never gives you particularly direct instructions. It's a neat little game, but it was a little obtuse for new players, and it kind of requires some outside information to be able to complete. Let's go ahead and get started. You'll be controlling the Lodger, an old man who lives alone in the middle of the woods, and is haunted by terrible nightmares whenever he goes to sleep. The controls are pretty basic, and you can move with either the arrow keys or WASD. You can also zoom the camera out with the Q button or the scroll wheel on your mouse if you prefer. Most actions are performed with the spacebar, but you can use the E key to activate things like the clocks you'll find at different levels. During the daytime phase, the object of the game is to activate the clock that's highlighted when you wake up. Once you take a few steps away from your bed, the game will pan out and automatically show you what room that's in. After you activate a clock, the front door to your house will mysteriously open, and you can begin the second phase of the daytime cycle by exiting through it. Upon exiting the door, your character is transported to a random location outside of your house in a dark and spooky forest. Once your character is outside, you have two options. You can search for the mysterious girl of the forest, or simply try to track down your house again and begin the night phase. Moving left or right while you're outside will always bring you to the same place eventually. The path is pretty long, but ultimately you'll end up at the same location that you started walking from. The easiest way to find your house again is to move up every few feet while you're moving either left or right, since when you move up, things in the background become visible. The easiest way to find the girl in the forest is, well, there isn't one. You basically just have to search and search and search until she miraculously appears somewhere on one of the two paths behind you. But if you want the good or best endings, you'll need to track her down a total of 6 times. There's an alternative to this, but it's unreliable and might leave you stranded on your last days without the items that you need. The best way that I've found to locate her is in pretty much the same movement pattern that you'll use to find your house. That is, moving left or right and then moving one path up after a few feet. She's visible on one of the two paths behind you, but can be pretty difficult to spot amidst all the scattered trees and bushes. When you do finally find her, you'll want to line the Lodger up to where he's facing her, and will end up pretty close to her when he moves into the background. However, this might not be possible if your way is blocked by an object. If this is the case, you'll just need to suck it up, approach her from a little bit of a distance, and then find her again. She can appear over and over during each outside phase, until she gives you the item that you need, called a fragment of reality. However, it is not a guarantee that if you find her and approach her, even properly, that she'll drop a fragment. You'll need to find her each and every outside cycle for at least 6 cycles in order to be eligible for the good or best ending. Once you find a fragment, provided that you're looking for them, a short cutscene will play, and then you're free to find your house and move on to the night cycle. The night cycle is the main gameplay mode of the game, and it can be tricky to understand how each mechanic works. During the night cycle, you walk around a nightmare version of the Lodger's house, trying to run the clock out and avoid guests. Guests are these spectral beings that are let loose in your house from rifts generated by lightning strikes. If a door is closed, you'll need to press and hold the spacebar until the Lodger can successfully open it. This takes a little bit of time and can be frustrating since he can be interrupted by different events, and the guests really like slamming doors that you've already opened closed again. When you enter a new room, the Lodger will have to repair the light bulb before it will light up. This is done the same way as you open doors, by pressing and holding the spacebar, and can also be disrupted by events or guests that run into you. Once a room is lit up, the Lodger may or may not close his eyes. If he does, you can stay in the room until he remembers what's in it, which will make items appear in the background of the room that are either completely decorative, or can serve as helpful hiding spots if you get stuck in an area where you can't get away from a guest. Another item that might pop up is the clock we saw during the daytime phase, which speeds up the clock for a set period of time and helps make the nighttime phase last less time. Each time that you enter or exit a room, you have another chance of the Lodger remembering something new in it. If his eyes close, there's something new in the room for him to discover, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you can afford to wait the length of time it takes him. This can occur at different intervals, but most rooms will refresh whether or not there's additional objects to discover as soon as you leave the room and re-enter it. Keep in mind that if you turn the light bulb off, or if the light bulb breaks, the Lodger won't be able to remember anything more in the room. You'll still be able to use hiding spots and clocks that he's already discovered, but you won't be able to remember any new ones until you repair it. Occasionally throughout the night, lightning will strike the Lodger's house and open a rift, which seems to be a portal that guests enter his house through. You'll need to close these as soon as possible, or else you risk more and more dangerous guests entering the house. To close a rift, you'll have to make it to the room that the rift appeared in and repair the light bulb. Be careful, however, because if a giant eye appears in the background, even if you repair the bulb in the room, you'll take a slight loss of time, setting your clock back a little bit and making the night longer. If you cannot make it to the room in time, a more aggressive guest will appear somewhere in the house. They can range from the lodger's bed, slowly creaking through the hallways, to a big burly ghost that moves slightly faster than you do. If you get hit by an aggressive guest, you'll lose quite a bit of time, setting you back substantially, or worse yet, if you don't have enough accrued time, you'll have to start the entire night cycle over again. If you are in an area where you can't get away from an aggressive guest, you'll want to hide behind an object that you've remembered, hoping that it misses you. However, hiding will slowly roll your accrued time backwards as long as you stay in the hiding spot, so you can't just use it to hide throughout the night. If you see handprints slowly appearing on the wall, or see footprints slowly appearing on the floor, now that's not to be confused with a room that you go into that you remember hand or footprints in, that's different. You're going to want to run or hide immediately. This guest will make you start the level over no matter what if it touches you, so be careful. At the end of the cycle, the sun will rise and you'll have survived another night. After a brief scene, the lodger will wake back up in his bed. These two cycles are pretty much the same until the 6th day, where a giant monster, or a giant girl, will appear in the distance behind the lodger's house. At this point in the game, you gain a sanity meter which slowly drains anytime you're in a cycle. The objective here is to fill the clock during the daytime cycle completely up with time from the clocks you find during your waking hours. To see your sanity meter during the day, you can zoom your camera out using Q or the scroll wheel, and it'll be the white lightning streak type thing at the top of your screen. When you exit the house and wind up in the forest on the 6th day, you must find your house as quickly as possible. Black tendrils start filling the screen from the outside, and if they touch the middle of the screen, you get a game over. There's also another problem. Where the forest used to be pretty safe, you'll notice that there are now stationary guests all over the place. If you walk into one while you're looking for your house or the girl in the forest, it'll add progress to the black tendrils that are making their way across your screen. Avoid them at all costs. If you're going for the good or the best ending, keep in mind that you still need to find the girl in the forest at least one more time before completing the game. Once you find your house and start the night cycle, everything will be pretty much the same as the other nights, except there's a new guest that appears about 1 minute of real time into each level, Dineshka. This crying child will appear randomly in the house, and if you want the best ending, it's crucial to your night cycle. You'll have to make your way to the room that it's in, and approach it with the lights off. It'll either turn and drop your sanity a little bit, in which case just leave the room and re-enter it, or it'll drop a note and disappear. You want it to drop a total of 3 notes, so you'll need to find it 3 different times after the 6th day, but before you fill up the clock in your day cycle and beat the game. Your sanity meter drains during both the day and night cycle, and is directly related to how much time is restored each day when you find a clock in the daytime cycle. Try to complete levels as quickly as possible for the most benefit from the clock. After you fill up the daytime clock, sit back and enjoy your ending. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the guide or it helped you, toss me a like, or if you didn't, you can go in the comment section, talk about my mom or something. Do you, man? I don't control your life. See you next time.